It was dry when we went out on the track. It's wet when we get to the grid.
Well, you get there and all of a sudden you're on slick tyres, so I can assure you this is very, very slippery business.
And these are powerful cars at the front of the field. We're talking V8 Camaros, Mustangs, Falcons, some Monaros even in there. Brett Youlden on the second row of the grid, that green Monaro. That's Luke Youlden's uncle, so the Yourdens have got a big day at the mountain. Leanne Tander on pole, Mark King alongside in the Monaro. Bill Pye, the second row in the big Chevy Camaro. Great to have this category here at Mount Panorama. The fans absolutely love these cars and the racing that they turn on. And I think with this weather, the racing's going to be even better.
And we've seen the green flag down the back, so we're about ready to get going.
So Leanne Tander starts from pole, goes nowhere, wheel spin on the white Mount Panorama side. Look at Brett Youlden down the outside, but Leanne's got it running just enough to hold the inside line. So it's Falcon and Monaro that will be side by side up the mountain. Look at the small cars. There's Datsun 1600s, there's Porsche 911s, there's Escorts, and there's Jimmy Richards as well.
There's dead right, and Jimmy loves this sort of condition, and to have these sort of conditions around Bathurst is very, very daunting because it is just such a fast racetrack. But it looks as though it's pretty dry once they get away from pit straight.
Up to second, Steve Mason's made a great jump. That Camaro repaired since a bit of an accident the last round at Eastern Creek. Youlden next. There's Gavin Bullott's the champ, carving his way through. And the number one Mustang, Andrew Medicki, going with him. Oh, and Medicki gives him a nudge as well.
Oh,
and spins him nearly all the way around.
That's a bit ugly.
That is really ugly. The two guys who've won the two races so far.
You've got to bear in mind, these guys are all equal on points.
Well, they're equal in panels as well. Richards closing in as well. Coming into this race, Medicki, Richards and Bullis all on the same point score. So the round win is up for grabs as well as the race win.
And I think Medicki's got a tyre that's rubbing on the guard. So this could be very interesting.
And look at those Porsche 911s right among the mix across the top. Bernie Stack has been a real pace setter in those cars. But it just brings back the memories of the 60s and the 70s. This category is keeping those years alive. Tander leading off the top of the mountain. This time last year, Leanne was getting ready to race in the 1000, but has stepped into this car this year, and they've developed it very nicely into a package that's running at the front.
Well, they've done a fantastic job with that car because realistically, you know, it's what do you call a phase 4?
Phase 4 doors, not a phase 4, yeah. All that tyre still rubbing for Andrew Medicki. Right front. Got to be so careful. Listen to these things. They are making more speed than in the heyday.
Unbelievable.
Youlden having a look down at the chase. Leanne Tander's just got away.
Oh, here we go. That's another lock-up. So that right front tyre is not going to be too handsome.
Medicki,
as you see, when something like that happens, it gets a bit hot, and he understeers off the road.
Oh, and it's gone.
And I think it's
right front tyre's gone for Medicki's car. He will go
in the pit lane.
Yep, it's all over for Medicki. So of the three guys who are equal on points, we're down to two.
Well, that's what the red mist does.
So Tander leads. Mason, then Youlden, Pye. Gavin Bullis is still in the race. Mark King from the front row is back to sixth. Let's have a look off the start line.
Oh, bit of the old axle tramp happening.
That's on board the Shannon's Falcon Sprint with Jimmy Richards.
It never ceases to amaze me, the mechanical pressure that these cars are put under.
What about the panel pressure?
Well, when you get panel pressure like that, obviously you pay for it. This is really not a passing spot, I would suggest.
Bullis did a good job to hang on to it. Very easily could have ended up spun in front of the whole field, but has survived. He's still in the motor race.
Gee, I'm glad we weren't talking to him at that point in time.
I'm glad too. Tander, though, has pulled away. Youlden next. They've really developed this HQ. It is really starting to move its way to the front. Steve Mason's been a long-time runner in this Touring Car Masters category, which is not purely historic racing. I guess it's historic themed with a lot more modern technology in these cars from a cost point of view and also from a reliability point of view too.
Well, that's where they lacked in the past, was basically the reliability. But now these days with the way you can get parts manufactured and things like that with conrods and crankshafts, it's really amazing just how reliable these cars are and how much more power they're making.
Back with Jim Richards on board the Falcon Sprint, of course, 7-time winner of the Bathurst 1000. And honing in on Gavin Bullis, who won the first race of the championship in Adelaide and didn't win one until yesterday, so it's been a long drought. Mustang v Falcon, smoke from the back of the Mustang just briefly over the crest on Conrod.
Jimmy's not short of a bit of speed down the straight either.
Never has been. This thing's
very quick motor car.
And it doesn't have as big an engine as some of the others, but it is lighter.
It's a lot lighter, but it's all about power to weight.
It doesn't hurt having a guru behind the wheel too.
Oh, absolutely. They take this category very, very seriously.
I'll tell you what, Brett Youlden he's catching Leanne Tander. That time around, fastest lap of the race at 2:30.02. But Jim Richards eclipses it further back, 2:28.28. So I've got a funny feeling that we might have 3 or 4 cars keen to go for the win in this 7-lapper. We're still waiting for Jimmy to get that javelin out. He tells me that it's getting there and it's closer and closer, but for the moment, the Falcon Sprint's doing the job.
It certainly is, and because obviously Jimmy drives it very well, but it's just at the very top end, and I think he's going to have a go to get under Bullis here, but
close.
Well, he's not doing an Andrew, that's for sure.
Mediki is still in pit lane. They haven't got that Camaro back on the road. Behind these guys, Mark King is 7th, Tony Hunter next, then Matt O'Brien in the Monaro, which was repaired. It's another car that's been down to the TAFE team to be repaired. It was crashed on the 2nd lap of practice on Thursday. They put in huge hours to get it back on the road, and it's in the top 10. Just goes to show what you can do with a lot of help and assistance.
Well, the TAFE people do a magnificent job, and have done for many, many years here at Mount Panorama. And I think it's basically their last year this year.
Yeah, it is, and there's a problem here for Cameron Tilley. The pacer that's been dominant in Group 2, started 9th on the grid, has got a drama and is limping his way across the top of the mountain. So it hasn't been a good weekend if your surname's been Tilley. Brad Tilley didn't even get to the grid. Now Richards gets the lunge.
Down the inside.
Can never get sick to the sound of that 289. Bullis again, just a little bit of smoke. That happened last time.
Yeah, I think it's where Andrew's run into the back of him now, and his tyre's sort of rubbing on the guard a little, but doesn't seem to be affecting him too much.
No, he's sticking with Jimmy. Right in behind that fight, the top 6 clearing away. Let's jump aboard with the reigning champ, Gavin Bullis. Is this car okay after that touch from Andrew? It's Aaron Noonan in the box.
Yeah, mate, it's rubbing on the guard, but it's not too bad. The car feels really good this morning, apart from Andrew trying to turn me around, but that was a pretty silly move. But we'll just keep looking after our tyres back here and see if we can get through to the front, and we'll follow Jimmy through.
You going to let Jim do all the work?
Well, that's the plan. We've just got to keep on it and keep focusing. So we'll see how we go. But it's really grippy at the moment, even with a little bit of rain dribbles we had before. So it's pretty good.
Now, I know that Dick's here. You haven't got any wisecracks to impress him with, do you?
I thought you might have had a story or two there.
Story, mate. I'm juggling to keep up at the moment. I've just got to focus. So we'll see how we go. We'll try and get through a few more shortly.
All right, mate. We'll let you get back to the job at hand.
Thanks, mate.
So Jimmy Richards picks up a spot. He goes by Bill Pye. So now we'll stop talking to Gavin and let him get back to business.
It's amazing how it can affect you, though. You know, when you're in a bit of a battle, you lose a little bit of time.
But how did you do it? I mean, how could you come up with something intelligent to say, a quick joke, and still maintain the sort of lap time that you needed?
Well, the cars were obviously a lot different then, and it's just one of those things that you leave half your brain to sort of do the driving and the other half to do a bit of talking.
Did you ever prepare any of that material, or was it all off the cuff?
Pretty much off the cuff.
Just not the same anymore, is it?
No.
The racing's good though here. Across the top, Tander and Youlden. Pretty much, you can throw a blanket over these top 6.
Absolutely, and the thing is that you come first, second or third now, you lose 300 revs for first, 200 for second, and 100 for third. So that's very, very interesting.
Oh, how about Jimmy down the inside again at the elbow? That's been the spot of choice.
That's the beauty of this fantastic racetrack. You've got a number of places where you can actually pass, which is brilliant.
Look at the speed trap. That's pretty serious stuff. And back in the day when these cars were doing the running, there was no chase. It was all the way straight down Conrod.
Dead straight, and they used to get very, very light over the last hump.
Leanne's done a great job here. Jimmy, though, is the fastest car on the road. He is hunting them down. The veteran he holds the record. 35 starts in the 1,000. Now, Bullis is making moves down on Bill Pye to grab fifth. But that time around, Richards, he's flying 2:24.98. That's 7/10 of a second slower, and someone's lost some rubber.
Yep.
Oh, and that is the reason why. So Doug Westwood's Falcon. It's a bit hard to pick up, actually, what car that is and where it is. No, it's not.
It's the Monaro.
It's the Monaro that's lost one. And of course, Cameron Tilley's parked the Pacer on Conrod already. Matt O'Brien, the weekend that started bad, got better. It's got worse. Pulls off on Conrod straight. So back to the front. Leanne Tander has led the whole way through this race. But Jim Richards, he is the guy who has got the pace here. He's only about 7/10 away from his own lap record from last year. So he's got this car hooked up.
He certainly has, and given the fact that there is a little bit of moisture on the road, he's not taking any prisoners, that's for sure.
Seemed to have a little bit of a good thing going when it came to wet weather, Jimmy.
Yeah, they used to call him the Rainmaster. So.
It's not hurting here across the top.
Tell you what, Leanne Tander's doing a fantastic job. Yeah. She's really sort of got her head around this car, and as you said, they've developed the car very well indeed.
Solid weekend. It started a bit slowly, got held up in qualifying, red flags and the like. Went from 19th to 7th in the first race, so that really showed what that car's capable of. And Jimmy thought about it again. Yeah. The elbow's been his spot in this race.
Well, if he keeps going, mate, he's going to lose a few more revs.
Well, but when you're winning, it doesn't hurt quite as much, does it? Less than that, the car's getting light over that hump. And 265.
And you can hear them, they're on the rev limiter.
Gavin Bullis having a lunge at Steve Mason, the inaugural champ from 2007, last year's champ in car 1. Sneaks on by. So he's doing what he said. He's following Jim, but Jim just going a little bit quicker.
I think Jim's obviously going to have a little bit of trouble with yielding, I think.
He's got the run, he's got the switch back here. Yulden was a little untidy in the last corner.
Probably just went a little bit too deep under brakes and lost the turning.
We'll see Richards and Yulden in action for FPR later in the day, of course. Jim's young fella Steve in car number 6, and a quick wave to say,
so,
thank you on the way through.
Sometimes you wonder what that really means.
Is that see you later, mate, or thank you very much, or what were you doing? Now he's got one car left, Leanne Tander, and he's got pretty much 2 laps to do it in.
1 3/4 laps.
Maybe. What about Yulden? Back up the inside.
Thank you very much.
Did he mean to do that? I'm not too sure, but nevertheless, he's through to second, and if anything, that buys Leanne a little bit more breathing room because it gets the gap away.
I think Jim's going to have to do something pretty special here to reel in Leanne, because she's keeping the car nice and straight out in front and pulling away while these guys are sort of fighting with each other.
And you could hear Jimmy have that little lift over that little crest coming out of the cutting. Doesn't want to load up the car and get the rear wheel spinning.
Well, what happens when you come over that hump and the car actually does get airborne, and if it lands on one wheel, with the type of diff that they have in them, it can sort of really upset the car.
Now, off the top, we just heard from race control that it's been shortened a lap, so this is the last lap. Last chance for Jimmy. You reckon he's going to have a go at the elbow? I've got my money on it.
Well, I tell you what, I think Yulden will make it fairly wide.
Oh, It's not wide enough, though. Jimmy sneaks down the gap. This is where this car, a little bit lighter, a bit better poised under brakes, gets it. So he's got a bit of work to do to get to Leanne, because that Falcon, that XA GT, has got plenty of power.
And the Monaro, I don't think it's short of straight line speed either.
I think it goes okay as well. Look at Jimmy.
See, Jimmy's on the rev limiter.
It's out of breath, but he's just covering enough that Brett can't get down the inside.
He'll have to go down the outside, though.
He'll try anywhere, any which way.
And here comes Bullis.
He'll be right there no matter what he does. But out of the chase for the final time. We love Touring Car Masters racing. Turns back the clock, relives the glory days and keeps them ticking on. But could this be an omen for her husband a bit later in the day? Leanne Tander's going to pick up race 3 for the weekend. Great drive. The Wilson Security Falcon is home. The top 6 are covered by 2.7 seconds.
That's pretty impressive. Good on you, Leanne. She did a great job.
That's a great drive. Gets the win clear of Jimmy Richards, who was really storming home at the end of that race. Youlden third from Bullis. In terms of the round, Jimmy will have enough points to clinch it, but the extreme slow-mo here of Tander across the top, and I can see air under some of those tyres.
You certainly can.
Great action. There'll be so much more today with another chapter in Bathurst 1000 history. But Richo just keeps on keeping on. Second in the race, winner of the round, another job done for Gentleman Jim. Let's have a look at the results. Steve Mason 5th from Bill Pye. Tony Hunter, Chris Stillwell and Ian McAllister rounded out the top 10 in Touring Car Masters. Now